Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon. Glad to have you join us today for our session about social isolation and loneliness. I'm going to keep track of people coming in and then do more of an introduction, but I see you all coming in, so welcome. So glad you could join us today. I'm Kathy Betts, and I'm a volunteer with Mass AARP Executive Council, and I'm your moderator for today. I'm really excited about seeing you all today and talking about this really important topic of social isolation and loneliness, and hope for all of us, at least during this next hour, we will not be isolated or lonely. We have each other as support, and it's really exciting to have you all join us today. So I see people coming in. I'm going to give it a few more minutes until we see that we're getting sufficient people to begin. Hello there from New Jersey. Oh, that's so nice for you to say hello. So I'm going to start because I want to make sure that if people have questions, that they're putting them in the Q&A today. You see the Q&A at the bottom. There's also chat, which is a great place to put things like you're doing, where you're from, which is terrific to hear about where you're from. Or if you want to share your story with others, sometimes people chat back and forth, and there'll be people looking at chat while we're there in case there's a question, but it's easier for us to kind of keep track of questions if you put them in the Q&A, and then we can get them to Sandra Harris, our speaker today. So Q&A is a great place to put your questions, and we have lots of time to just have a discussion, answer questions today, so feel free to do so. And if you put your questions in the Q&A, the only people who see them are me, who's the moderator, and I'm there just to feed the questions to our guest speaker and one other staff person who's just helping me make sure we get all your questions. So I see people are still coming. I'm just going to repeat any questions, put in the Q&A. And if you want to have a little chat discussion, you can put that in chat, and we'll try to keep a look at that as well. So we're just wait a couple seconds more, but you're at the right session. As you can see, how much is too much? Loneliness and social isolation. And I am Kathy Betts. I'm a volunteer with Massachusetts AARP Executive Council. So today's session, How Much is Too Much, is a series, a collaborative effort of a number of different organizations. One organization is, for example, our host, AARP. Also, the Mass Organization for Addiction and Recovery, which is an organization led by and for people in addiction recovery. That organization is known as MORE. And the Older Adult Behavioral Health Network at Mass Association of Mental Health. Special thanks to all the people on our planning committee: Kara Cohen from AARP, Marianne Frangulis and Julie Bunch from MORE, Cassie Kramer and Jennifer Earth from MAMH. And we also want to thank Carol Gerard from the Mass Department of Public Health, who recognize the importance of getting this information out. Social isolation and loneliness is a major public health issue in this country, and it affects people of all ages. So we are very happy to be talking about this today. I'm going to repeat our housekeeping notes, which is it's a Zoom webinar, which means attendees will be off camera. But if you have questions or comments, please put them in the Q&A. If you want to have a little chat discussion with your fellow participants, you can do that, but try to keep your questions in the Q&A so that we can find them and make sure we get them to the presenter. Cassie and Julie will also be checking chat for comments, and they'll let us know. Today's webinar is being recorded, which is really good news because that means in just about 3 days, you'll receive a copy of this webinar so that you'll have it to review. And we hope you can join us when we have 2 more How Much is Too Much upcoming series. One is May 1st, a conversation about alcohol. I'm hoping that we hear on that Kathy, myself, can drink as much wine as we want, but I don't think that'll be the case. So I hope you join us then. And May 22nd, we have a conversation about nutrition. You know, as we age, our nutritional needs change, and it's really important to understand those. So you'll see the link for these two sessions in the Q&A if you'd like to join them as well. So again, today's series focuses on the serious public health issue of loneliness and social isolation, which affects people of all ages. We're fortunate to have our guest speaker, Sandra Harris, with us today. Sandra is the state president of AARP Massachusetts and the co-leader of the Mass Task Force to End Loneliness and Build Community. Sandra has received many awards for her work to reduce loneliness and social isolation, and as well as the 2022 Gen to Gen Innovation Award, the 2023 Friendship Works Catalyst Award. She serves on the Mass Alzheimer's Disease Research Community Advisory Board and is the member of the Connect to Connect nationwide network of champions. Sandra is a retired principal of S. Harris Interiors, a design firm that focused on senior living design. Sandra is a grandmother to 2 boys, thanks to her daughter. We're happy to have Sandra here today. Thank you, Sandra, for coming.
And thank you, Kathy. I'm so pleased to be here. Hello, everyone. And thanks so much for holding space for this important public health conversation. My goal today is to define loneliness, its risk for well-being, and why it's important that we address it now, to define social health and why it matters, to share the work of the Massachusetts Coalition to Build Community and End Loneliness, and to share ways you can identify and address loneliness. And we're hoping to leave room for lots of conversation. The evidence is quite clear. Most Americans are lonely. According to the 2018 Cigna Corporation's U.S. Loneliness Index report, and more current data remains similar, 1 in 4 Americans barely or never feel as though there are people that really understand them. I'm going to repeat that. 1 in 4 Americans barely or never feel as though there are people around them that really understand them. So let's hear directly from our Surgeon General why this work is important and why now is the time to address it.
Loneliness is far more than just a bad feeling. Being socially disconnected, which can range from feeling alone to being isolated, is bad both for individual and societal health. Research shows that loneliness and isolation are associated with a greater risk of heart disease, dementia, stroke, depression, anxiety, and premature death. In fact, lacking connection can increase the risk of premature death to levels comparable to smoking daily. Loneliness and social isolation are also far more common than we might realize. About 1 in 2 American adults report experiencing loneliness. Everyone can be impacted across all ages, socioeconomic conditions, and geographies. This widespread disconnection presents profound threats to our health and well-being. Social connection is as fundamental to our mental and physical health as food, water, and sleep, and it affects our performance and productivity at work, school, and in our communities. Now is the time to invest in building social connection. This first ever Surgeon General's advisory on our epidemic of loneliness and isolation shows us how. The keys to connection are simple. Answer a phone call from a friend. Invite someone over to share a meal. Listen and be present during conversation. Seek out opportunities to serve others. These steps may seem small, but they're extraordinarily powerful. By strengthening our relationships, we can improve our heart and brain health, reduce our risk of diabetes and high blood pressure, boost our immune systems, and lower our risk of depression. We can build lives and communities that are healthier and happier, and we can ensure our country and the world are better poised than ever to take on the challenges that lie ahead. Visit surgeongeneral.gov/connection to learn more.
Sandra, that was great. One of the audience
It's far
members
more than just
asked if we could increase the volume. So maybe on the next one, if we can do that.
Do I control the volume here?
I think it's on the other person's end that
Oh,
they increase the volume.
okay.
Okay, am I coming? Can you hear me better now?
Yep.
Okay.
Everybody.
So let's talk about what exactly is loneliness and social isolation. Often used interchangeably, it's important for us to understand the difference between the two. Social isolation denotes the size of one's social network. And that's okay for some people who enjoy small tribes. Sometimes I do. I just enjoy being alone, who enjoy solitude. It does not mean that one is lonely, but it can lead to loneliness. Loneliness, on the other hand, is much more subjective. It's about how connected you feel when you are around others. And it's not about the number of friends or relationships you have. Think about it. How many times have you walked into a room full of people, but still felt that you were not seen, heard, or being connected? That is loneliness. And it's natural, it's humanistic for us to all feel that way from time to time. But what is important is when you find yourself staying in the loneliness space all the time, that's when it becomes a problem. We can also think about the 3 dimensions of loneliness. Enough studies have shown that there's something called psychological loneliness. It's feeling lack of love, lack of a feeling like of a loved one, friends, or companion. No one that you are close to, that you really feel that you can trust or confide in. I mean, think about a person being in a relationship or in a marriage and still being disconnected. They're craving this connection on a very personal level, but it's not there. Societal loneliness is feeling systematically excluded or marginalized because of some special trait or condition perceived by others. You know, it can be race or gender identity, low income, disabilities. And existential or spiritual feelings of loneliness is feeling disconnected from the broader world or human experience. You know, how many times have you thought or heard people talk about they're feeling lonely because they like meaning and purpose in life. This dimension reminds me so much of my father, who at age 99, I'd call in the middle of the day and he's still in bed. And I ask, "Are you feeling okay?" And his response is, "Fine." I'm going, "Well, why are you still in bed?" And he says, "There's no reason to get up." Right? And that is more important and a reason to always make sure that we have meaning and purpose in life. It's also important to have an understanding of loneliness in terms of ages. When we started this work with the coalition, we were concerned about the loneliness among older adults because we knew at the time that in Massachusetts, there were 540,000 older adults, 65 plus, who were living alone. And we were hearing and concerned about how loneliness was impacting our communities. But research from the same Cigna 2018 Loneliness Index reports tell us that the most lonely are young adults ages 18 to 22. And I like to use the Cigna report because it probably is one of the most inclusive, although more data statistics have been updated and more available. But I try to still use this because even now with updated data, this was prior to COVID and even after the pandemic, the numbers are looking the same. Gen Z is the most lonely, coming in on this particular chart at 48.3% of the UCLA loneliness scale, compared to the greatest generation, which is 72 plus, registering in at 38.6. And as I said, this research is similar post-pandemic. Also, we know and if beginning to see that the most lonely includes caregivers, mothers of young babies, Black, people of color, LGBT community, immigrants, people living with disability. So I think that well, I know that they're all dimensions of loneliness. So why is this important? As we've seen from a noted surgeon and public health researcher, Atul Gawande, who eloquently states, human beings are social creatures. Simply to exist as a normal human being requires interactions with other people. So as we advance our understanding and search for ways to address this crisis, social health scientist Cassie Killiam proposes that we take a different look in how we talk about and define good health and well-being. In her soon-to-be released book, The Art and Science of Connection, Killiam suggested that physical health is about our body, mental health is about our mind, and social health is about our relationships. She further suggests and challenges us to add that missing pillow because you can have a strong body and a strong mind, yet still suffer if you do not have strong relationships and a sense of belonging to the community. To be healthy and flourishing, we need all pillows. So here's what we're doing to address this public crisis in Massachusetts. As I've stated earlier, we started this work in 2019, and the Massachusetts Coalition to Build Community and Address Loneliness is a statewide network of local and state governments, not-for-profits, community partner organizations, community leaders, college and universities, thought leaders, and volunteers who have just joined forces to address loneliness. We made a decision in 2019 to move out of our silos, to combine and use our collective resources and ingenuity for maximum impact. Our mission is to ensure that all residents of the Commonwealth feel connected to their community and enjoy a strong sense of social health. One of the first things that we did was we launched a public awareness campaign, Reach Out MA, using PSAs by public officials, social media posts, organizations' newsletters to promote the risk of loneliness and the benefits of staying connected. Here's the PSA launched during the pandemic by former Mayor Marty Walsh for the city of Boston. Okay, Marty, where are you?
Hi, I'm Mayor Marty Walsh. This year, our entire community has been tested in big ways. A lot of people are struggling with some serious issues, including depression and isolation. One of the most important things we can do as a community is to reach out to our fellow Bostonians to see how they're doing and to remind them that they are loved. The city of Boston is teaming up with the AARP Massachusetts with their Reach Out MA campaign. We're encouraging everyone to reach out to friends, family, neighbors, especially older adults who might be feeling isolated and lonely. I encourage you to visit reachoutma.com for ideas on how to stay connected during the pandemic. And share the ways that you're helping community stay connected on social media using the hashtag reachoutma. Sometimes simply checking in and saying hi can mean the world to someone. Never underestimate the power of kind words. Thank you all for showing what Boston stands for during these very challenging times.
Sorry about the visual. There was before I started showing it, but I'm not sure what happened. And although Mayor Walsh is no longer with us, he's gone on to greater things. We like to show that one because during the pandemic, that was the most of all the ones that we've done. And we did include a number of town officials and others. That was the most viewed video. So we like to kind of be reminded of that. We've shared a downloadable resource of promising practices that we found that communities were using. 10 Small Ways to Reach Out MA is downloadable on our website. And it's just, again, ways that we can stay connected in the community and safe ways, especially during COVID. We've hosted 4 annual virtual summits on September 28th, which is National Good Neighbor Day. There, we encourage everyone to celebrate Good Neighbor Day, to renew their social contracts, and to really remember what it means to be a good neighbor. We share additional promising practice, any findings that we've had, and any research, and also the future direction of the coalition. We encourage community watch parties and really seek advice and feedback. We want to know from our community members if what we're doing is working. It's for the last 4 years, we've hosted 2020, we had Lisa Ryerson, who was at that time the president of AARP Foundation. 2021, Risa Wilkinson, who was executive director of Healthy Places by Design. And 2022, Mark Freeman, co-CEO of CoGenerate. And 2023, we had the Surgeon General by video. We've launched a monthly TV series on community media channels across Massachusetts, designed specifically for traditional community TV watchers, those who do not have social media or network television, those living in rural areas, because we wanted to make sure that we were providing information for those who just were not necessarily part of the media channels and communications channels that most of us are using now. There, we explore themes related to loneliness, social connections, and healthy aging. One of our guiding principles is that we are grassrooted. We work in communities. We don't sit in our ivory towers and dictate to people what they should be doing. We go down to the community level and work with community leaders, residents, and anyone who really want to be engaged in this work. So we engage with communities to make sure we're helping or suggesting providing safe, socially connected outdoor spaces for gatherings and places to meet. Examples here are we have a move to promote the Happy to Chat benches. You may have seen them in some of your communities. At the very top, we have one that is in Salem. It was featured, and Boston Globe did a review of that and how well it's working in the communities. The one on the bottom right is a Conversations MA, which is a project that we undertook last summer, where we asked communities around the state to just do pop-up opportunities for people to just drop by, to come, just have a conversations, inviting people to come out and talk to each other's neighbors. Let's begin to talk to each other. On the bottom left is a project that we did through Activate Boston, a project funded by the John Hancock Foundation, which funded 2 neighborhood projects in Boston, working with them to provide interesting, exciting spaces for their community members or their neighborhood members to gather. This is one that was done in Chinatown. We are pushing out another project this year, program this year called Generations Over Dinner, where we're asking community members, individuals to host dinners where the goal is to get as many generations around the tables as you can. We are working this year, instead of having our annual summit as a virtual offering, we are planning a Good Neighbor Day of Action, and we're working to have the entire September 28th proclaimed rather, Massachusetts Good Neighbor Day of Action, inviting all communities statewide to have some event, some programs on their community celebrating Good Neighbor Day. And we work with and promote the AARP Community Challenge grants on projects promoting community engagements. So if you're interested in trying to find a project for your community, we suggest you get in touch with AARP Massachusetts. And Carrie, you might be able to put that in the chat of how they can kind of get information, especially when we're looking at applications for the Community Challenge grants.
And Sandra, I assume this other states do similar community challenge grants for those who are outside of Massachusetts on
Yes,
this?
yes, I know that all of the AARP states do provide offer community challenge grants.
Right, that's very good to talk about and remind people of those opportunities. If they have programs they'd like to initiate or start, there's some funding that could be available if they apply.
And generally, these are fast starting programs. They could be as simple as just doing a community garden or developing a trail for walking. So there's a number of opportunities. And if you are not from Massachusetts, then you can kind of check with the Massachusetts, your AARP state office. And I'm hoping that we can put in the chat a link to some of the things that's happening in Massachusetts with the community challenge grants. As the coalition moves forward, we remain committed to the work we've been doing for the last 4 years. We want to really continue our public relations, our public awareness efforts, and move from awareness to action. We want to promote social health as the missing and vital component of good health. We want to continue looking for the hard to find, especially those who want to be found, because there are some people who enjoy being where they are, and that's the choice that they get to make. But we do feel that we are missing, and we do not want to leave anyone behind.
And Sandra, that is a question that people have about how are there methods to find folks that are socially isolated?
Well, it's a question that we continue to wrestle with because we don't want to. I mean, I've heard of programs, and there are some programs in some communities where they use their postal workers, right? To try to just let your local council on aging or senior center know if you're delivering mail and this person is lonely. People use Meals on Wheels, because for some people, the Meals on Wheel people who deliver their meals are the only people that they see and talk to, right? So we're encouraging organizations to organize those kinds of services to kind of stay in touch and let us know when there's a problem, there's someone. And as I said, we respect, their desire or their choice to be alone, but checking on them periodically makes a lot of sense and can be helpful.
Thank you.
And we also work hard to inspire the power of one. And when I say that, people ask, what do you mean, inspire the power of one? And for me, I like to remind everyone that we all individually have a part to play in alleviating loneliness. It just takes each person to do one thing, right? So my request for people who are with us today is, especially if you feel comfortable, go to the chat and add the name of someone in your life, someone who's important to you, someone who's inspired you, someone that you think about, but someone that you've not been in touch with in a long time. And I'm going to pause here and give you an opportunity to put the first name of that person in chat. Okay.
Quite a
Okay.
few names in the list there, Sandra.
Oh, thank you. Good, good, good.
Mhm.
Moving forward, we're embracing the Surgeon General's advisory, which recommends the 6 pillars for advancing social connections. And we're pleased and happy to see that a number of the recommendations and advisory, it's just actions that we've already taken. So we're feeling really good about that. So our plan is to use the advisory to organize our success and to map our path forward. As I've mentioned before, in 2024, we're transitioning our annual September 28th National Good Neighbors Day Summit to an annual Good Neighbor Day of Action in Massachusetts, and we need your help. We're calling all Bay Staters to show up and to celebrate Good Neighbor Day in their community on September 28th. So, what to do if you're feeling lonely? First of all, know that you're not alone, that we all feel lonely at some time and time. Again, it's making sure that we don't stay stuck in loneliness. We suggest that you connect meaningfully with family and friends, and especially with younger generations. I read an article recently that talked about the value and the importance of having friends from all generations. So many times, and again, I think of my father, who was not motivated to do much at the later years of his life because most of his friends and his buddies, as he called them, had died. But we're finding that if you spread out your friendships and have friends of all ages, when you get to the later chapters of your life, then you do have people with whom that you connect. You do have people with whom you can get together with. So having connections with many young generations and connecting in meaningful ways is really helpful. Connect meaningfully. For example, I think in terms of using technology wisely. I recently saw some research information on social media and especially young girls, and how they're probably using it as a way of measuring their popularity, and as a result, their self-esteem is suffering because they're looking at all that their friends are doing and all of the connections that they're having. And oftentimes, many of this is not true. We all know that, right? But um, that's how they measure and their self-esteem. So when I say use technology wisely, I think there are ways. For me, I live in Boston. My 2 grandsons live in Nashville. They're ballers, So on Saturday mornings, I can FaceTime with my daughter and watch their games. Okay. I can contact them um, and be able to cheer them on, and after the games talk about the moves and the scores that they made. So let's use technology wisely. um, Find meaning and purpose. As I talk, especially in my role as the state president of AARP, I talk to a lot of older adults, people who have retired and are looking for things to do and finding meaning and purpose. And I'm constantly reminding them that we have wisdom, that comes from experience, and that we should cultivate harvest and share that wisdom. Give thanks, be grateful, be intentional with going out and visiting. And what I mean by intentional, I have to myself be intentional, because one of the things that has stayed with me from COVID is I want to stay in. I have to be intentional and make a decision that I'm going to go out each day, if it's just a walk around the block. So I'm being very intentional and making sure that I go out and do things. You know, visit your local council on aging, your senior center. Libraries have so many opportunities and so many things. Libraries are not the libraries that we grew up with, certainly not the ones that I grew up with, just books. There are many opportunities going on. Become a volunteer. The benefits and rewards of reaching out to your community, being a part of your community, volunteering, and make a difference in someone else's lives is most rewarding. Take a class or course, and not just, I recommend that you take not just one class, but take an entire course, because if you take one class, you go there one time and you might meet people, even if it's online. But if you take a course, and by a course, I mean a series of classes where there are probably 4 or 5 meetings, classes, lessons, then you get to meet people of similar interests. And research is also showing that when you spend that much time with people, then of similar interests, then friendships, evolve. After the class, people end up going out for coffee or doing things, or even just taking a walk. And my favorite is to just find a young child that you can just cherish and love each day. So I'm going to ask the questions, and Kathy, you can tell me in chat, what are some of the things that our audience do? What do you do when you're feeling lonely or feeling that the need to connect? Is anything coming through?
Well, not at the moment, but there was a question, which I think you answered somewhat, about how you make friendships if you're shy or not confident. And that is difficult to walk by yourself into
Well,
a room.
there was a time, I have to tell you, that I described myself as being an introvert and extrovert body. There were times and there are many times when I am shy, and for me, especially in my community, if you had a baby or a dog, I stopped and talked with you, right? That was my trigger point. It's hard, but I try to tell people, oftentimes when you pass someone, especially a neighbor that you recognize, they're shy too, right? And no one wants to reach out. So just giving a smile and saying hello, or offering a comment, a compliment, right? Um, Even, I find when I do things like go to church, I am often saying hello, and I've not seen you before. Are you new to the community? Are you visiting? And you just have to force yourself oftentimes to do that. And I assure you that when you reach out to people, oftentimes they are just as happy to have you reach out to them so that they can in turn reach out and connect with you.
And there was some ideas too from our guests saying,
Oh.
take a walk in the community, cuddle my pet. Pets are also very helpful for loneliness, my fur babies. And do live videos. And I would also suggest, because I see, we forget about men, and men feel like they can't go to certain places. So the councils on aging or senior centers have a lot of activities for men. They have often guitar lessons, card playing, men's coffee hour. So don't think that it's just, a woman's place to go. There's really quite a few men's activities that you can look at in your community. And if there are not, you can go to any senior center in any neighboring community if you find activities that are of interest to you there.
Good, good. Anything else in chat? Because I don't have my chat on, I can't see.
So Kara, I don't know if you can answer, what happened to the question? Looks like maybe Kara answered it. Seems like it's gone. And so there were some other suggestions about running errands and just, exchanging a few kind words with a cashier, the person, the postal clerk, etc. also are helpful. And a therapist can also work with people to build confidence and overcome shyness. Psychology today has a great directory of therapists throughout the country that take different insurances, and you can do it, by Zoom too, if that's easiest. What Joyce is that it's difficult to get out if have a handicap and can't get around.
It,
Go ahead.
yeah, that is an issue, and it's one of the things that we're hoping to address and provide some recommendations and inspirations for people, especially people who are homebound. And it's also an opportunities for neighbors to just, drop in and say hi. I mean, I oftentimes, especially when it's cold, I sit at my window and wave at my neighbors, right? Just knowing that someone sees you helps to make a difference.
And there are some opportunities for rides to certain places. So most senior centers have vans that can pick people up and take them for free to activities. And so that's something to also look into if that's of interest.
Right. And I also think if you live in the city of Boston, I think, I've not used them, but I think that they offer discounts for taxes and things like that. I've heard about those. I've not explored them. In Boston, you can check with Age Strong Boston to get some information about that.
But I mean, we do all acknowledge it's very difficult to walk into somewhere where you've never been and introduce yourself. So sometimes it's helpful if people can go in twos, if there's someone else who could go, or if you could take someone, a neighbor, with you to an activity, it's easier for them to walk into and meet other people.
Right. One of the things that we have started at AARP, and I think we have two groups, Walk with the Docs, right? And it's just an opportunity where we offer volunteers or members to meet up with a doc in a community. We do it in Boston, we do it in Worcester, and just take a walk. And we're learning that we're developing that groups, friendship groups are being developed. As a matter of fact, we received a letter from one of the docs talking about how impressed he was that people are connecting and making friendships through their walk. And as a result, he is recommending to his patients when he talk with them to join a walking club because he's seeing the power of ways that can help people make connections, especially if they're strangers. Strangers become friends by walking with a doc, right?
Yep. You can find the local Walk with a Doc chapter near you. AARP manages 2 in Massachusetts, 1 in Boston. So
And-
there's a link in the chat for you to
Okay.
check into.
Good. So what if you suspect someone you know or love is lonely? What to do? Let's talk first about how can you tell if someone is lonely and how do you detect loneliness in someone? Here's some signs. They have significant changes in their routines, getting up later, like my dad, sleeping, staying in bed. They just are not enjoying things that once brought them pleasure, neglecting their appearances or personal hygiene, not eating properly. Those are just some ways and things to look for if you're detecting or suspecting that someone is lonely. The first thing we'd like for you to do or suggest you do is just be a good friend. be a good listener. Sometimes it's just a matter of listening and being patient and understanding. Um, check with them frequently, check in with them frequently, and stay connected to them. Encourage, be understanding and compassionate. Um, let them know that they are not alone. Encourage them to participate in social activities. And if they don't want to do it alone, then perhaps you can join them or suggest another friend or someone or a loved one to accompany them the first time. And definitely, if none of this work, to encourage professional help if it's needed. So I'm eager and interested in seeing if you have detected someone who is lonely and have had an opportunity to help them. What did you do? Let's see in chat.
And while we wait, Amy had a great recommendation. She said there's an app called Bumble for Friends to help meet people.
Okay, anything else?
Let me see, I don't see any.
Okay, so here's some resources if you still have questions. One recommendation is to just check with your Council on Aging. Here's the website for the Massachusetts Councils on Aging and the Council on Aging directory. You can go to Connect to Effect, which is a website of the AARP Foundation where you can do an assessment, take a test to determine and get a score of your loneliness. Um, and you can go to Connect, that same that same website, Connect to Effect organization, / build social connections, and just some more tips and recommendations on how you can build connections. And then I encourage you to join the Massachusetts Coalition to Build Community and End Loneliness. And you can do that by going to our website, www.endlonelinessma.com. There you can look at some of the works that we're doing, the initiatives we've started, and we're getting ready to update that to bring it more current, but you can kind of get a feel for some things that you can do and things that are happening in your community.
Mhm.
So before leaving, remember I asked you to identify someone important to you and put that in chat.
Yep.
Well, what I'd like for you to do now is to take out your phones if you have them nearby and to send that person a simple text or email, just simply thinking of you. And if you are not near a phone, do so when you are next near one. All right, what might be even better is stop by for a short visit. You never know the difference that you make. And again, it emphasizes the power of one and what we each day can do to help alleviate loneliness and social isolations. Thank you. And my last challenge to you is to let's lead the change we wish to see in our world. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Sandra. People really appreciated it.
Any more questions or?
No. Just so people are sending their texts now. So they're busy sending their texts. What a great idea, Sandra. It actually gave me the chills. It was really very, very nice to think that way rather than just put their name down, take action.
And the reason why I had you to put it in chat is because research also shows that if you write it down or tell someone, you're more inclined to do it.
Mm.
I hope, I hope that that is the case.
Oh, we have a very nice person who sends cards expressing appreciation. Isn't that great? Very nice of you. Nice presentation, Sandra. You're getting compliments. It is. It's very heartwarming to know we can be a change maker and make the difference in someone's lives. You're clearly passionate about your work, Sandra. We know that.
Well, I look at this work and say, this is what's going to help get me to heaven, right?
Absolutely. Thank you. Send text. That is so great to know. One text went to someone. Very, very good. Excellent. So we hope to see you at our next series. The next one is on how much is too much alcohol, followed by how much is too much nutrition. And there's a link here to the series. Oh, Jacqueline sent 2 texts. Now she's showing off, making us feel bad. Thank you, Jacqueline. That's excellent.
Who can beat Jacqueline? Who can send 3?
The challenge is out. Nice. You can tell we have a nice group that came on today. They're very kind and thoughtful. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope we see you at the next 2 series. And keep informed with AARP. There'll be many more things to come. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thanks so much to Sandra, and blessings to all. What a nice way to end. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.